Okay, this is what we'll do. Okay, I'll do C in top, and then I'll do C in the bottom. The bottom one's just a little bit harder, just from the standpoint it's got more stuff in it, that's all. So let's do 1C, okay? This is asking me to factor, so just give me, factor basically makes it, give me the pieces, right? So if it's factored by greatest common factor, you're trying to find the GCF, right? Greatest common factor. So that means the thing that's biggest that goes into all three terms. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the question here so that we can see, and I can do some writing too. It's 10x squared plus 4x plus 6. You're looking at all three of these all three of these terms. We're going to call them one term, two term, three terms. You're looking for the thing that is the biggest thing that goes into all three of them. Okay. The way that works is a GCF always has or deals with, they always deal with two things, okay? Numbers and also variables like x's or y's or both. Okay, and you're going to deal with them all one by one. You guys can't see that one side. Okay, you're going to deal with them one at a time, right? So that just means, okay, I'm going to find the biggest number that goes into all the numbers. Then you're going to find the number of x's that you can take out. And if there are y's present, then you're going to find how many y's you can take out as well. They're all different. Okay, you're just trying to find what's the biggest number of each you could take. Okay, that's the greatest common factor. Okay, so let's go back here. That's just a little explanation. Okay, so we're going to try and build our GCF. So we're going to start with the numbers. It looks to me like you can't divide all of these by 10, you can't divide them all by 4, and you can't divide them all by 6, right? Like 10 isn't divisible by 4 or 6, so you're stuck. Okay, the same thing is true that 4 can't be divided by 10 or 6, right? That doesn't work. So the coefficients they've provided to you, remember these are coefficients, the numbers, are not divisible by any of themselves, okay? But there is a common factor across all three of those things, right? All three of those numbers, 10, 4, and 6. I think the greatest common factor, the biggest number that can go into all of them, is 2. Okay, so you're building your greatest common factor, it's 2. So you're going to write 2. And then you're going to check, okay, well, I've dealt with the numbers. Okay, it's 2. You're going to ask yourself, is there any number of x's that I can take from all three? Well, it looks like I could take 2 here. I could take 1 here, but there's nothing here. I can't take any x's from that one, right? And so you're stuck. The greatest number of x's that you can take is actually 0 x's. You can't take any, right? Which leaves us with the fact that our greatest common factor is 2. You get the chance to tell me the optimal value. Yeah, I can do that, Ethan. After we do this, okay? I'll tell you what the optimal value is. Okay, the optimal value is a vertex, Ethan. But it's like a max or min of 5 when x equals 2, for instance, or something, right? It's just where the high or low point is on the parabola is the optimal value. Okay, but you gotta tell me if it's a maximum or a minimum, okay? Depending on if it's open up or down. Okay, so we've identified the fact that GCF is 2, okay? So we're gonna write 2 out front because you're gonna remove this factor of 2 from all three. So if we're going to do that, then you're going to tell me what's left after you divide all three of these things by 2. And then you're going to write that on the inside. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. There's no x's to be canceled, so you get 5x squared. 4 divided by 2 is 2. No x's cancel, x. Plus 6 divided by 2. 3. Done. That's all I want you to do. You've removed this factor of 2 from all 3 of these terms. That's what we mean by common factoring. Okay, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go down and do 2C now. Okay. It's a little bit harder, but not that much harder. Okay. So, I got to copy the question here. 20x 5y cubed plus 45x squared y4 minus 35xy squared. Okay. Again, why don't we try and build our greatest common factor off to the side? So you deal with the number first. What's the number that looks like it goes into, or the biggest number that goes into all 3 of these terms? You can't divide all of these by 20. You can't divide them all by like 40. You can't divide them all by 10 even, right? But you can divide them all by 5 at the very least, right? So we can start to build our GCF. We know we can divide them all by 5 because 5 goes into all of them. So we know our GCF has a factor of 5 in it, okay? Then you go, okay, I'm going to try and remove the variables now. So I'm going to deal with the x's first. Okay, well, it looks like there's 5 x's here, there's 2 x's here, but there's only 1 x there. So the biggest number of x's that I can remove from these things is just 1, right? And so I can divide all of them by just 1x. Okay. Okay, we're good. This question, what makes this question a little bit harder is we're dealing with 2 variables this time instead of just the 1. Okay, we have a second variable, the y's. Okay, well, how many y's can you take out? What's the biggest number of y's? Well, there's 3 here, 4 here, and 2 here. So it looks like, okay, I can take 2 y's out, a y squared, right? And so I can divide by y squared here, and all of them. Here's your greatest common factor. Okay. Once you have that, you write it out front. You're essentially removing that factor, or that piece of 5xy squared, from each of those 3 pieces, those 3 terms. So if you're going to remove it, you're going to remove it by writing it out front, and then you're going to say, okay, well, what's left after I've removed it? Well, you do the math now. So you can do, okay, 20 divided by 5 is going to be 4. Then you can look at, okay, 1x in the bottom will cancel with one of the x's in the top, right? So this cancels with one of these, and it becomes a 4. Okay, so I'm going to get x to the 4. And then you're looking at the y's. Well, it looks like there's 2 y's in the bottom and 3 y's in the top. Okay, well, it looks like I'm just going to be left with 2 y's are going to cancel with 2 of them up here, and you're going to be left with 1 left. Okay, then you do the same thing. 45 divided by 5 would be 9. Right? One of these x's cancels with one of those. You're left with 1, 9x. And then 2 y's cancel with 2 y's up here. You're left with 2. Then you go again, last one. 35 divided by 5 with a negative on it is going to be 7 with a negative on it. Then you're going to say, okay, the x cancels with the x, so there's nothing there now. And then the y squared cancels with the y squared. Nothing. You're done. Okay, does anybody have any issues? That's all I'm looking for. That's your final answer. So you can type any questions you want in the chat, okay? That's like, there are 2 questions exactly like this on your test, on your formative, and ultimately your test when we get there. Okay? I'll stop it here. You'll have